Hello, hello to anyone watching. I'm going to give a few minutes for a couple folks to arrive. If you are in the chat, say hello. Feel free to ask any questions. Looks like we have our wrench tie on Ranger. Ba-da-bum, 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 bum, bum, tie on Ranger. Ba-da-bum, 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 bum, 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 bum. All right, he's there to monitor all you rapscallions out there. Got a few different things we're going to be working on tonight. I'm also working on getting guests in here. I need to test that out because doing StreamYard from your phone, which is also your camera here, is a little more difficult. But I'm gonna figure it out. So I'm gonna play the intro. I'm gonna drink some water, grab my brush, be back in 30 to 40 some seconds. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Nothing's gonna hold us back now. Straight ahead and on the track. Gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Hey homies, what's up? Ryan Wynn here with another live episode of Late Night INKS, and I am going to work on the projects that I promised, but we are going to start with a little bit of our Doughboy. I think it's kind of hard to see, but I went in and added some shadows, some blacks. I didn't shade everything in. I used a very light pencil because I was still playing around, but I like it quite a bit. Now, first and foremost, we are going to ink up a couple of the lines on this this rifle. We're not going to do too many details yet because I actually want to go in and work on some pieces, but I'm going to do some of the outlines here. You know what? Screw that. That's going to be next time. Now that I'm looking at it, we can totally go right to the brush with this bad boy. Welcome, Jobu. Welcome, Simonin. Hail to the chat. Hail to Friday night. All right, so I did all my warm-ups already. And I have my print up that I had been testing stuff on that you guys saw in other episodes. But let's get to it. Let me adjust the desk. Let me make sure I'm going to be in frame. And I know not to speak too loudly near the camera. I did check in on the video, the last couple videos, and there were some hard pops. The phone has a pretty good mic. And I have a pretty loud voice. So I'm going to try to speak a little quieter. And that all those sounds are me just getting the brush ready, getting the ink ready. Now I'm using a Raphael 8404 size 2. She goes by the name of Stinger because she's so sharp. Now, like I said many times before, dip 2/3 to halfway. You don't want to go too far down. With the ink, it can get up into the ferrule, which is the metal casing that holds the hairs in there, and it can bind up the hairs and mess them up. So we are going to go in fairly heavy here because we're going to be putting in solid blacks. We're going to be adding what's called the core shadows. So there's going to be lighting coming from above and behind him. So we're going to find the core of his shapes, which on the leg would be here and here, and on the torso it's going to be under here because the light's kind of coming over. And on this leg we're going to have heavy shadow coming in here and underneath as well. So you can't see everything right now, but I'm going to go in and sort of outline the shapes. One thing I kind of stole from Kirby that I like to do is my shadow shapes and black shapes. I sort of like to round them out like ellipses or oval shapes, whatever you want to call it. It's not necessarily realistic, but it works well in illustration. And we're going to have a little bit of a cast shadow from the jacket here. So most of this is going to be black. Sometimes for yourself, even if you're, excuse me, my voice drying out already. Even if you're inking yourself, sometimes it's a good reminder to give yourself the little X marks just to make sure you fill in all the areas you want to have filled in solid black. My working theory that I have yet to ask any of the old dogs about is that the X actually used to be a K, because in CMYK, the K is black. And that when they were doing the Ks quickly to fill in the spot that would be black, it just kind of became shorthand to do an X. That's my working theory. I need to ask like Mike Royer or Terry Austin. Need to ask some old generation dudes. Maybe Scott Williams would know. But I don't know Scott Williams, so. All right, so we're going to be doing a little crisscross shadowing here. And that's what I call how folds crisscross in their shapes. I can show you that in 1 second. Here, let me get the scratch paper. Folds in mountains and folds in rocks kind of work the same. This is going to be a crude interpretation, but you'll see what I mean. So let's say you've got no hairs in your brushes. There we go. Say we got a pant leg, and it kind of goes like this as it bunches up at the bottom. You're going to have a shape here, and then you're going to have a shape here, almost like fish shapes that crisscross and get bigger and bigger as you get further and further away from the light. And say if you look at like a leather jacket in a movie or something, you're going to get a really good example of this. And you'll see the way the cloth is bunched up and folds and zigzags, sort of like that. And mountains do the same thing. It's sort of the way things compress and interlock with each other. Anyways, you're not here for that. You're here to watch me trace. I'm not an illustration teacher. All right, let's load up the brush again. Let's get back to it. I'll be checking the chat in just a minute, see who else has shown up and see if we got any questions going on. But for right now, I'm going to keep laying in the spots for the shadows here. And as soon as we get that done, we'll go in and finish any of the rendering or the bleeds, which is all the fun, pretty lines that I like to do. I don't have that many to do in this image, but I still save them for last as sort of a reward, and it's sort of a technique I appreciate, or I like to use artistically. Sort of do that last. I like to get the main shape, then the shadows, and then I'll go in and do some fun, pretty bleeds and stuff like that. Beef that bad boy up. Never be afraid of the beef. Got a little bit of cast shadow from this side of that, his little shirt that splits open under his belt. Earlier this year when I drew the image, I knew all the actual names of all the pieces of the uniform. And now all of that is out of my brain. That's basically how I work on every project. I get really into it. I learn everything about it. I could write a thesis on it. And then 3 months later, when I'm into something else, all that stuff's just out of my brain. All right, here we're doing some of those crisscrossing fish shapes. So this one went thin to thick, and now we're going to do a thick to thin, like that, and then a thin to thick again. beef it up. And then as it nears the knee, we'll actually lighten up a little and then get dark again. I want to kind of get rid of that cross-hatching. I'm not really, cross-hatching isn't really the technique I'm going for in some of this. All right, there we go. All right, let's see. Hey, we got 12 people here. Right on. I'm gonna swipe back. Whoa, hit the camera again. I gotta get used to that. Sorry, guys. All right. I said hello to Jobu and Simonin and Ty Ion. I got William C there. Zen time again. What's up, everyone? William C is a good bud and a good artist. Francisco Santos has a question. Hello, here I am. I have a question. Do you color the drawings or does someone else do it for you? Good question, Francisco. I often color myself. I am the colorist on our series Gods and Gears that I write, and I'm working on a book called Hammerella right now that's a tie-in to that, and I'm doing all the art on that. And I will be coloring it as well. Sometimes I do like to collaborate with friends or other creators that I find online, but this piece I will eventually be coloring myself. Oh, whoops, let's see. Got a few more comments here. What did RT Bear talk about? If you paint it black, Ryan. Ah, yes, I believe RT Bear. Yeah, filling in the blacks. When in doubt, paint it black, or black it out. That's the rhyme. Sorry. No vegan inking with Ryan Wynn. He has the beef. Yeah, where's the beef? The beef is on the board, baby. You season it up. Get something sharp. Get right to it. Let's see. Simonin, I want to buy him a bottle of squid ink to make it really no vegan inking. LOL. I don't think I've ever inked with that. I've tried a lot of different inks. Snap into a beef Slim Jim. Oh yeah. Or beef Jim. Oh yeah. And I'll post the compliment. Nice things. Thank you, Randy. Good to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. All right, let's get back to it. Yeah, I am working on getting guests, like I said earlier in the video. I think it would be fun to bring in some different people that I know, maybe some different people that I don't know. But I have a few people in mind. I did invite someone tonight, but since this stuff has kind of been last minute, I don't know if they will make it, which is no big deal. But I definitely want to do like, I want to get Jimmy Reyes in here and maybe have him ink one of my head sketches that I've done. Rob Geronimo has agreed to do it. I want to bring him on, and they don't always have to ink my pieces, but I think it would be fun to have them be part of the ink-alongs that we all do and see their techniques. Maybe with someone like Jimmy, we trade and I ink Jimmy, which I think would be a fun experiment. I don't necessarily ink in that style much anymore, but I'm still a big fan of it. So it would be a fun challenge. Maybe I would try something different with it. Go brush heavy on it. But I want to start incorporating some different folks into the show. I have some independent artists and friends that I think would be fun to just bring on and let them ask questions. Sort of like if we had a class going on and be like, okay, bring your questions to the class. Because I get a lot of questions that are similar from people. And I think when we do something like that, we'll be able to get a lot of questions answered for people. Excuse me. All right, so we aren't going to spend the whole time doing this. We're just going to do some of this, and then I'm going to jump over to our Shazam piece that we were working on last night. And then I'm going to see how we're doing on the clock, and I'd like to possibly try to switch over to ink digitally and work on some Hammerella. That may have to wait till morning or tomorrow night. We're going to see how Shazam goes first. So I sort of have an order I like to work in that's good for my hand and my head creatively. This is the most mindless. The next most mindless is inking the Shazam piece, and then the Hammerella stuff will take a little bit of thought. So if we don't get there tonight, I will definitely do some of the live inking tomorrow, and for sure be live inking the colors on that. So again, just a reminder of the terms. The shadows I'm laying in right now are called the core shadows, and it's the deepest part of the shadow, the core part of the anatomy or the figure. And I'm kind of working in a slow manner. I should be hitting up that whole side like this, and then coming in like this. And man, these boys, the doughboys, World War I, they were wrapped up in all kinds of layers and then dropped in the mud and the water for weeks and months at a time. Seriously brutal conditions. And they managed to still do war every day. They're like, hey, this sucks. Yeah, but we can still do war. All right. So yeah, these are the cream of the crop. These the dudes that jumped out of trenches like this. Damn, they don't make them like that anymore. What am I talking about? Yeah, they do. All you guys out there. All you winners. All of you that are the product of these people that came back. Sorry, I'm getting all waxing philosophical about soldiers. All right, let's lay in some of these torso shadows. Mind frame, no, a little bit. And I will get back to questions in just a moment. I'll need to make sure all the ink is dry and give my hand and eyes a little break because I am going to have a long night of creativity ahead of me. And in case you missed it, I am inking with a Raphael 8404. This is a size 2. And I'm using Rapidograph Universal Ink. I'm going to be playing around with some different inks this month. If you have recommendations, feel free to give me a recommendation. All right, let's do some bleeds here. I know I said I would wait till the end to do any feathering, bleeds, or rendering, but I really wanted to hit those ones up. And who's going to stop me? All right, this will be filled in black when the brush is a little bit heavier, loaded up more. Just the lamp, there we go. All right, we're gonna do a couple more minutes of this. Let's get some pretty brush lines in. Before I do that, the brush is super heavy with ink right now, so we're gonna go in and lay in these shapes. You'll notice sometimes I pull towards me with the brush like this, and then sometimes I pull away like that. I recommend practicing moving all directions, holding the pen in different ways. It'll make it much easier on your wrists and your hands, your back, your neck, your shoulders, all that in the long run. Even if you are a hobbyist, just recommend switching up the grip and how you throw some of your lines. You also will get different effects by doing that. Let's see, I'm gonna hit that. This was also a job that assistants used to do. It was eventually called spotting the blacks. Spotting the blacks used to be a term where the inker would decide where to place the black shapes over the penciler's art, and then it slowly got adapted to the assistant just going in and actually filling in all the black shapes. You'd get paid a couple bucks a panel, do stuff like that. Danny Mickey started out as Art T. Bear's assistant doing stuff like that, and I started off as Danny Mickey's assistant doing stuff like that. All right, and we're going to have some feathering and some bleeds that come out of here that's going to sort of soften that transition. All right, I'm going to bring this in a little closer for some pretty lines, and then we're going to whip out our Shazam. Adjusted, there we go. All right. It's gonna be the shadow of his sleeve here. I'm gonna whip these, get heavier as we go, and then leave a nice big heavy shadow line there. Shadow line from Image Comics. We'll do one bloopity shadow here, and then I'll come back later and do bleeds there. And gosh, you know what? I'm almost done with all the black shapes on here. Let's fill in a few more, and then like I said, we'll whip out that Shazam. The Shazam is a 4-part piece that I am working on. It's actually 2 sketch covers, and I'm doing front and back on both of them. And it's one giant connected image. So if you haven't seen it, I'll whip it out here in just a minute. All right, we got that shadow. Missed a couple here. Going solid under that arm. It's going to really help that arm pop. Just that little bit of shadow. Gives a little dimension. I see some more people popping in the chat. I will be checking up and catching up in just a minute here. Now that the brush is losing some of its ink, I can do thinner lines, but I don't want to do thin lines right now. I want to get some of these beefy bad boys done. There we go. And this is going to be solid black here, this core shadow. We'll do some bleeds out of it. Oh, come on, brush. Don't die on me yet. Few more lines. It's okay if these get a little dry here. It's around the outer edge of the character. There we go. All right, I think that's enough Doughboy for now, he said as he goes for one more spot of the blacks here. Now, don't try to fill in your blacks as fast as I do. Like I said, I was an assistant that did this for years, years and years. So I'm pretty fast at it. You'll get fast, but you'll get faster and you'll get there more comfortably if you work it slow and let the speed build up. All right, let's pull this aside. Let me get a swig of water. Here's the Shazam we're going to be working on. Looks like the light is too bright. There we go. So here's our Shazam. And what we inked yesterday and the day before. Let's see, we started with the Wizard. Looks like I'm going to have to pull the camera back. One more time. Got one of these bendable, adjustable arms I'm trying to get used to maneuvering here. All right. Sorry for that shaky cam. So we have this one sketch cover that has the old Wizard, Shazam, or whatever they call him now, the old whatever, wise man. He's going to be saying all the names that make up Shazam, telling Billy to say it. Billy's going to be saying something about, like, don't get your toga in a bunch, dude. He's going to start to say Shazam here, S-H-A, sha. Then on the second one, it connects like this. The Zam is in a big lightning bolt. And then the final front cover is the reveal of Captain Marvel, or as they call him now, Shazam. So we're going to be working on this right now. Zoom us back in just a little. There we go. Get our frame. All right, let's see who we got here. Take a break. And Christopher John, hello. Thank you for showing up. We got the beef. We got the beef. We got the beef. There we go. Ty Iron Ranger, I can't stay too long tonight, so I've got to run. I'll try to be back before the end. Be good out there. And it's nice to see all of you. Ty is a great guy. I recommend following him on Twitter. I see William C. looking out for me there, buddy. With a little tweaking, you could market these streams as AMSR videos and get millions of views. Something to consider, definitely. And I thought you said twerking at first. And I was like, maybe that would help bring in the views. Middle-aged man with a little twerking. But no, I see it says tweaking. Good idea. Thanks, William. Actually, that's a pretty funny thought. We got folks saying hi to each other. Love that people's come together in the chats. Biggity bam. Hello, hello. I'm going to do one check to make sure that I'm not missing a guest. Okay. Whoops. All right. Cool beans. So let's do one more camera adjustment. Make sure I don't hit it anymore. And let's dip our brush. Sorry for the delay in getting back to it here, but we are doing it. Need to have like music and commercials ready. All right. Nice and loaded. The brushes, I should say. We're going to do, this is another thing. I forgot what this is called too. I'm going to do his rope tie first. That's his roper chiff. It's like this rope thing that goes around his neck and holds on to his cape. All right, here we go. Nice long line. I think that's still too bright. All right, this is gonna be a nice long line. Like I've said before, when we do long lines, you want to find the center. And from here on out, you're gonna use a little elbow and wrist, but to get to center, it's gonna be all wrist. So now elbow. And it was just a touch of elbow for that one. It's gonna be the same with this. Didn't quite make it on that one. There we go. And you don't have to do lines that long. You can break up your lines. I like the challenge of it. I think it's kind of fun. Sometimes I don't make it. Sometimes I am defeated by the line. All right, so tip for doing thin lines. The brush is kind of heavy with ink, but the more upright you hold it, the less surface area meets the brush and the paper. So hold it upright, line up your shot. We got a little reverse S shape here. There we go, nice and thin. Got a little heavy at the end because the comic sticks up. Yeah, I'm gonna blame the board. And a heavy one there. Then we'll finish out the rope, the roperchief. That sounds like a handkerchief the ropers would wear. And this one I am going to be coloring myself as well. I kind of want to do it in a painted style, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see what time dictates. It is going to be for sale. This isn't a commission or anything. This is just an idea I had. I had a couple of the sketch covers laying around. Thought it would be a fun thing to not only create, but a fun thing to do a live video of. And if you've got inking questions, Gods and Gears questions, industry questions, feel free to ask. Doesn't just have to be about brushings or whatever I'm working on. Just here to hang out and chat and stuff. All right, we're doing his big ol' round chin here. See, I want to make sure I get everything right because he has his jaw and then his chin is set in there. So it's not actually one big thing going all the way around. But I want to be really clean on the connection there. So I'm going to do his chin first. And reverse back up the other side here. I'm going to break there. Come back, complete. And then while I'm over here, I'll do this side. Because I'm always considering what can I do in the area I'm in without having to spin the board much, because your left hand is constantly spinning the page or the board, whether it's digital or traditional. So sometimes you can get some stuff done in the same area. I sort of adopted that idea. Danny Mickey was a little bit into that sort of economy of time and line. But when I worked at Quicksilver, there was a dude named Dewey that I worked in the art department, and he was on the business side of things. And we did the art and designs for the Quicksilver stores for years. And so I'd fly out with all the business guys, and we were these young punk artists that would go and do this stuff. But all the business guys would go because it's the opening of a store, and they're getting ready to make millions. And he was this dude that he was just super smart, and he had this real simple thing that he told me one day when he saw me moving boxes. And he said, "Hey, I saw you move those, and then I saw you move them again. He's like, you'd save yourself a lot of time and effort if you planned ahead where everything was going to go in its best place and only touch stuff once." I remember thinking that, touch stuff once, like I like that. So I sort of adopted that to the same principle, where it's like, oh, if I'm in that same area, it's almost like I want to get what I can done there. But at the same time, inking with the brush, you are a victim to how much ink is on there. And when you start getting a certain amount of ink, like right here, I'm getting a little bit of dry brush, which I don't mind doing on those necklines. If I wanted dry brush anywhere else like that, now would be the time to hit it. So just like that's why I like to do contours at once, which jumps you all around the board, is because the consistency of line. So now that the brush is heavy again, I can do like shadows. So I'll go in and do some of these little ear shadows. Which again, I'm jumping across the board. So you're like, oh wait, isn't this the opposite of, moving things around or doing stuff in the same area, I should say. Sorry, I'm thinking this stuff out as I go. So bear with. But but it's similar in thought of economy and of brush usage. Because if I was trying to do all sorts of like the thin lines, then I'd have to go and wipe a bunch of ink off and do the thin lines. And if I want to hit a thick line again, then I have to load up again. I don't know. I'm rambling, but I'm gonna figure out what I'm trying to say. Anyway, Shazam is one of my favorite classic characters. I love the old C.C. Beck era. Otis, what's his name, was the writer, and they came up with some really wacky stuff. It was really off the wall, and it was really perfect for comic books. I highly recommend checking it out. C.C. Beck's work, it was one of the things that inspired me to be clean. I always cite Jack Kirby, but Kirby didn't speak to me until after C.C. Beck spoke to me. And I just mean that artistically. I don't mean I was high enough that on something that those guys were talking to me. That's a different story for a different time. All right, we got these big old cheekbones for a boy. The brush is pretty wet still, but I'm gonna do eyes and eyebrows. Do a thin outline on the eyebrows. May beef it up a little bit after, but they're gonna be almost solid black. He's got some healthy eyebrows. I'd call them Welsh, actually. I'd say these are some Welsh eyebrows. All right, the brush is doing really, really nice lines right now. They're a little dry at the end, but I don't know what I was gonna say. They're just a little dry at the end, but I like the look. I like the feel I'm getting. All right, he's got these squinty eyes. I was debating putting a little bit of a space. I think I'm gonna do it. I just did it. And then maybe painting in that space his iris. So you could see it a little bit. But I like the C.C. Beck version. He's got those squinty happy eyes. They arc like that, but they're still smiley, even though smile arcs the other way. These are still smiley eyes. And he's got these cheeks pushing up against his lower eyelids. And then this is where I kind of, my own stylized thing is I sort of do an outline of the eyelids very faintly, a couple 2 to 3 thin lines. It's a little more exaggerated than it would be in reality, and it's a little rounder than it would be. But I'm finding that it works for me, so there you go. And I'll get back to questions in a minute. I just have some flow going here, so got to take advantage of that. Links in the description will lead you to Hammerella, a project I am currently working on that's tied to our Gods and Gears universe. We are only 2,500 away from being fully funded. We got 24 days to go, so I think we're going to be able to do it. And that's not only going to bring us Hammerella, but that's going to allow us to quickly keep Gods and Gears going with issue 5 through 8, which will have art by Dean Kotz. All the Hammerella art will be by me. But Dean is doing a few pages in it. He's doing an epilogue and a prologue, and we're also going to reprint our original Gods and Gears story, this Map of Mishap, 12-page short. We're going to put that in the Hammerella book too, so it's something like 64 plus pages now. Perfect bound. It's going to be on some uncoated stock, which will be sort of like semi-gloss. I don't like fully glossy comics. But if you're going nicer than newsprint, I want it to be what I like to read and what I think most people will appreciate reading. It's got just a little bit of gloss to it, but not enough to bug the eye. Also, in the description, there's a link for Wirehead, Robert Geronimo, and Mike O'Shea's cybernetic slasher comic. I believe they are past 50% right now. I looked earlier, but I am brain dead right now because I'm inking and pretending that I can think while I ink. But there is a link for Wirehead. I recommend going to check it out. I did an exclusive print that only comes with one of the perks. So you'll have to get that one and find me someday so I can sign it. And then also there is a link for the Death Curse channel, which is Rooster Puncher's channel. He is doing sort of a long form podcast streaming over there with Jeff Elkins and Kayla Adrian. I pop in sometimes, so does Kevin Castanero. And we are also going to be doing some sort of draw stream over there. We've also been doing a draw stream weekly on Robert Geronimo's channel. So we're all trying to sort of expand the ALTERNA group onto YouTube. I mean, we've been here. We've been doing stuff for years. My channel's years and years old, but together we're trying to sort of team up a little more. Everybody's getting their high-speed internet. We're going to see a little more Tyler Wentland like we did last week on Robert Geronimo's channel. All right, I'm going to give you guys a look at what we've got done so far here. So when you tilt him that way, he gains a bunch of weight. Like, oh my god, to go back the other way. Ah, there, that's better. Oh, hey, Death Curse is in the crowd. Rooster Puncher, everybody. Writer of Voidwalker, co-creator, writer of Can't Kill Cade. They have City of Rot with can't say his name, Geoff Elkins, which just funded. Congratulations, boys. It's in demand over on Indiegogo. I need to drop that link in. I always forget a link or two. Try to throw these links in and be all handy, and then, nah, don't do it. I mess up. Yes, William C. is wise. Good recommendations and good observations. You know, he has no info to support this, but Tyler Wentland seems like a mysterious person. I don't think he seems like a mysterious person. I think he is a mysterious person. But we'll have to have him on the show. All right, Death Curse says we're doing a drawing one next Friday because it's Friday the 13th. You are obviously invited. Ryan Wynn, I will be there for the Friday the 13th draw stream on Death Curse channel. Go give him a sub. Check it out. Uh-oh, Roxfox knows what's up. When Ryan Wynn says Shazam, he turns into Abe Baldaman. Hopefully we'll get a new Abe video this weekend. I'm working on something. I'm going to mute real quick so I can sneeze, and then I'll be back. All right, I'm back. All right, I always like to post the compliments. Incredible work, Ryan. Thank you, Christopher. I do appreciate the kind words, but you can also make fun of me when I mess up too. I messed up right here, man. Oh. Yeah, there's plenty of other stuff to make fun of me about too. But anyways, welcome. Enjoy anything you learn from here. Always feel free to ask questions too. Oh, Jason, yes. I do call him Captain Marvel. I do also call him Shazam just to kind of keep up with the modern lexicon, with what the kids are calling him these days. Oh, I almost slipped into Abe there for a second. Let's see, Simonin with the This reminds me of animation cells since they have perforations. Some drawing desks had a thing where you mounted the cells and then you could not only align the different cells for the consecutive frames, but also they could spin them for drawing, inking, and coloring them. Yes, if you ever watch John Celestri's channel, he's got one of those animation desk setups. They are pretty cool. I've only played around with them at conventions. They had one at a convention once, and I've seen them on studio tours and at the Natural History Museum. Actually, they had a Disney setup with a bunch of the old ones that they'd used, I think, on Snow White. That was pretty cool. All right, see the new comments real quick. Death Cursed, don't burst my fantasy, man. Tyler's just a wholesome family man. No, what? Who's? No, he's twisted. He's dark. He's mysterious. Yeah, really. Come on, man. Let's keep the party going. And Captain Marvel, that don't look like Brie Larson. Cue rim shot, ba-dum-cha. Too smiley? Too smiley. Yeah, I was gonna skip that movie, and then I don't know. I have the movie pass from AMC, so we see everything for you. Got like 3 movies a month for like $20. So I was like, you know what, we'll go see it. And even my wife was like, I'll check it out. It's supposed to be all girl power and stuff, whatever. And man, we were just bored. Like, it wasn't even that bad. It's just boring and kind of dumb. My wife was like, "That's like girl power. This is stupid." Even my nephew was like supposed to love every Marvel movie as a kid. He was like, it's all right. Wonder Woman was better. I agree, but Wonder Woman's still just weird to me. They were like, "Hey, we want the young girls to have a hero." Young girls love World War One. That was weird to me. Where I think it's cool. I think all the World War One stuff's cool, but if you're like, "Hey, let's get young girls into this," like, young girls don't care about World War One. So hopefully they had a funner tone in the 84 one. All right, so we are doing our rip-off American version of anime hair, which is these tethered or tapered, not tethered shapes of hair chunks. And do all the chunks first, and then we'll go back in and detail it. And we are still good on time, so it looks like I might be able to break into some of the Hammerella stuff. Didn't actually set it up. I'm gonna figure out, I gotta mount my iPad here basically. You know, I'll let that be your guys' call. You want me to just focus on this, or do you want me to play around with some Hammerella stuff? Wash off my brush. Sci-Fi always has the info. Follow Sci-Fi for Me TV. Great channel. Like lots of different aspects of pop culture, from cosplay to novels to TV and movies, all sorts of stuff. Creator interviews, all sorts of great things. And Jason from Sci-Fi says, I hear the plan is World War I, then 1984, then modern day for the 3rd film. They moved to World War I to avoid comparisons to Captain America. No, that's cool. I just don't think any war stuff is going to attract little girls or make them want to watch that movie over and over again. Yeah, whether it's World War I or II, I was like, I think it's cool, but that's not gonna win the chicas over. All right, so a few more pieces here, some locks to outline. And then I'm going to do the eyebrows. The brows of a god. The brows of a god. Doot, 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 doot. Oh, that's going to get me flagged. Everything gets you flagged these days. Hey, Roxvox, thanks for showing up. Roxvox, I keep saying Roxvox. Rockvox also has a great channel. He's into comics and music. He has reviewed my band, The Taint. So go ahead and give him a subscription. He's also just a great member of the indie comics community. He's always showing up on ALTERNA chats and being fun and funny and just an all-around good guy. So I love seeing all you guys show up in the chat here. It's always people I'm like, hey, I know that person. That person's cool. All right, do a little rendering here. Sort of where the cheeks go into the eyelids. This adds a little dimension. And I want a little rendering here. I forgot to balance out the underside of his little lip there. Ah, my L's are getting caught. I was telling you guys about that last night. The way I sit when I'm inking and I'm facing down, my stupid fat tongue's like la 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 la, weighing down and making L's hard to say. All right, let's finish up this hair, and then I'm gonna see if we can make the iPad work here. Wait until you get tagged by Transparency Tube. Oh, I don't even know what that is. That just doesn't sound like something I want to deal with. All right, so when I was talking about the crisscrossing layers of folding pants on our soldier earlier, you can do similar crisscrossing shapes in the hair. Works in the same way. So I'm going to have these sort of thin to thick chunks, and then in between those you can go, well, I guess it's thin to thick this way, but it's opposite of that. Opposite of this side. See? Just like that. I'm going to throw a few more separations there, and we get some dimension going. So like always, we're going to have a shadow that pushes from the forehead area up to this middle part of the hair. And then from the outside edge of the hair, we're going to push a shadow back, and we're going to create a highlight. It's going to give us some nice dimension on the hair, because that's what we always want to do, right, class? We want to create dimension, not dementia. We are living in a three-dimensional world. We are drawing on a two-dimensional surface, but we want other three-dimensional beings to look at this two-dimensional surface and see a three-dimensional being, whether they look cartoony or realistic. And that's one of the things that gives someone like Jack Kirby's art power, is not realistic at all, but he's created so much dimension and life and depth and space in his art that your brain sort of translates it as real. That makes sense. I don't know. Here at Late Night Inks, sometimes we just talk. And whatever comes out of mouths, that's just what it is. All right, reloading the brush. Heavy on these undersides. And then back to going about halfway. Back to our fish shapes, crisscrossing over. And I'll get bigger and rounder as we go. Oh, hey, ink spots, nice. Ink spots is one of my favorite colors and favorite personalities I find ink spots absolutely charming and delightful. The voice of an angel, and also can paint and color like nobody's business. He's doing I think it's a print or cover for NAT, I believe, and I'm absolutely in love with the way it was painted. And again, this is me never remembering the exact names of things I want to talk about when I'm live. But maybe InkSpots, if he's still there, he can fill you guys in. He knows what I'm talking about. Badass blonde with the guns, really cool buildings. Mercenaries. And InkSpots can often be found with another one of my favorite personalities and people, Jimmy Reyes, over on Page One Comics, artist and co-creator with David Philpott on Dragon Rage. That's another link I should have in the chat. InkSpots also just colored up Cash Grab, which nobody's sure if they're going to end up getting, which is a hilarious thing that's going on. Who knows where Cecil went? In all reality, I'm sure you guys are going to get Cash Grab. All right, and you can also see how our highlight on the hair is coming together. And then I'm going to check out the chat, and then I'm going to see if I can set up my iPad here. All right, let's go and soften these transitions up. Some bleeds, and then I'll let you see if those work. I think they're working. But yeah, I think I would love to have Jimmy and InkSpots on. I was saying earlier in the episode I wanted to have Jimmy on to sort of do an ink along with me, or maybe we ink each other's work or something like that. InkSpots would be fun to have on to discuss coloring. He does everything from standard comic book coloring to this painted style that I'm totally in love with. So that's something I would like to do, is not just talk inks on Late Night Inks. But get into color and techniques of other colorists and things like that, because pretty much every colorist I talk to has different techniques and approaches. Even some of my favorite mainstream guys like David Barron or Alex Sinclair, where they come from a similar school, they still do things, very differently. They're actual working techniques and stuff like that. So I always find that stuff fascinating. All right, a few more here. Brush is drying out. That's okay. Let's take a look. Probably needs a few more transitions. This little wispy bang needs to be filled in. But I think that's a good chunk for tonight. Let's see if I can set up the iPad and make that read on screen. I'm going to leave this here for you guys to look at while I grab that. And then we will also take a look at some of your comments, questions, concerns, warnings. Desperate pleas for help. All right, I am scrolling. You guys remember you boys' live hangouts from years and years ago? Scrolling. Pedro made it on an EVS stream this morning. Pedro Ang, a good friend of mine. He's got Tropical Magics coming out. He just made this awesome animated spot for it. Another link I should have. Yes. Oh, there it is. Tales from the Natverse, in demand on IGG right now. Yeah, well, another one I just need to have, like, it's probably a good 10, 20 links. I just need to have standard. Hey, thank you, William, for stopping by. You're probably already gone watching The Mandalorian with the wife. Good for you. I need to catch up on that as well. Haven't even started this season. Funny that Marvel has some Bond Connery vibes. Or maybe it's just that I'm still thinking of Connery. It kind of does. I didn't mean for it to, but he kind of does. Shazam. Shazam was the wizard's name. There, you got a little Sean Connery out of me. The Ink Spots were a jazz vocal group in the 1930s and 40s. I wouldn't be surprised if Ink Spots is somehow an eternal living member of that band. Oh, there we go. Confirmation. He's going to do it. All right, so there can only be Juan. All right, let's put this aside. I'm getting sing-songy here. Let's look at the fingerprints on that. Oh boy. We're gonna clean that off really quick. So I'm using the iPad. It is the 9.5-inch iPad, the 2016 model. Yes, that is small, and yes, that is old. I'm hoping to upgrade soon to the 12-inch, maybe the 2017. I think you can get for a good price. Dan Frega was recommending that. All right, so we're going to kill some of these lights because we are going to get into Procreate. I think we need that. There we go. So I'm working on a page from Hammerella. That is the extended universe story of Hammerella, a half demigod, half witch that's been raised on this horrible planet since she was a young child, since infancy. She's had to survive dealing with these deadly beasts, and when she becomes an adult, she finally escapes and finds herself in the midst of a galactic war filled with galactic navies and galactic mechs and all galactic coolness. So we're going to do a little bit of noodling on this page here. She's in her preteens. She has been dumped in a nest. This is the Emberhawk. This is a tiny her being dumped into the Emberhawk nest that is always on fire, and it rests upon this giant pillar. This is going to be a slightly busy page. The next page is going to be really open, and then the next page after that is a little bit busy. I'm modeling the framework on old Michael Golden and Art Adams layouts. So not that I think that I'm that good, but they are sort of the model for how to do a busy page for me. So panel 2, she is going to be seen framed by the fledglings, the young Emberhawks in the nest, and we're going to see her reaching back for a stick. She knows she needs a weapon immediately, and she's going to be slightly uplit by the flames. The chicks do not like it. The fledglings, whatever you want to call them, they are angry, and they charge her. And now she's ready and swinging that stick. Then we get a 3-piece, or a set of 3 square panels here where she's going to crack one of them in the head. We're going to do a better sound effect than that. Maybe we'll do that tonight. One of them is going to chomp down on her arm pretty hard. It's going to leave a mark. Then she's going to crack that one away. The mother of the Emberhawks is Aquilus, is not going to like that. Very angry. Following that, Hammerella bails. Off screen. They follow. She bails completely out of the nest. with this stick that will eventually be the thing that she hunts and protects herself with before she gets her hammer. So she's dove out, and the Emperor Hawk is going to chase her down. And if you've seen any of the pages I've posted, you've seen the page where she finally escapes the Emperor Hawk and crashes into the water. So I'm going to set up an inking layer, and we are going to get to it. I haven't really done much Procreate live. I did one video last week that was just inking. I don't think I've done, or it was just coloring. Don't think I've done any actual inking. I'm going to start with a calligraphy pen. We're going to go in and we're going to do these flames. And man, I'm hoping this is readable. It is, but let's, I'm going to brighten the camera. And I'm going to lighten the pencil lines so we can see more of a difference. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right, I'm using the calligraphy pen, and the calligraphy pen has an interesting shape to me. It responds very much like a classic nib, almost like a Hunt 102. It's not totally black. It's somewhat transparent, and it gets blacker as you go over it. Can you see that? It's hard to tell on here. But I kind of like that. I like the gray effect on the board that the ink creates in reality, and I'll tend to tweak it a little bit before I color. But once you add a color layer to any gray lines, they almost become black as it is. So I don't really manipulate the calligraphy pen too much. And you can get nice bloops with this too. It looks so pixelated in frame right now. These are super tiny lines, so they will not show up as pixelated. We're really zoomed in. I don't recommend people normally work this far zoomed in either. You'll get sort of lost in the lines. You might do too much detail, and it not only do you not want to waste your time in that way, but it starts to look weird when you've done that. Like if it's too high resolution and you've done too much small detail. But again, I've been doing this for a really long time, so I sort of know how the thickness I want it to be, and what line weights to make everything, and how much detail to actually put into small distant shots like this. In Procreate, you cannot lock the size of the image. You can do that in Clip Studio. That is one advantage, one of many advantages that Clip Studio has. I just prefer the workability, I just prefer how Procreate actually functions and operates. But one of the tricks I do if I feel like I want to work at actual size is I kind of gauge what actual size is, like this, and then you can maneuver. Like, let's see, if you want to move your page around, you use your two fingers that you would, but you don't expand or contract it. You just keep it that size, and then you can sort of work at actual size. And that helps sometimes if you're really worried about, not wasting too much time or not putting in too much detail, getting lost like that. You can do that. I just don't anymore. I just zoom in and know how simple to make it. And you can do that too. You can zoom in and zoom out, see if you've done too much. You'll be able to gauge that. Now here with the nest that's on fire, I'm gonna go really angular with these branches and sticks that are in it. I'm gonna kind of do all these pieces that go one direction, so I don't have to spin the board that much. And I spent the time in the pencils to break the surfaces on top and connect them on the bottom like this to create a little bit of dimension and depth and shadow. Where that branch, it kind of hints that there's a top to this branch like that without drawing it. There's probably an actual name for that. And I either learned it at one point and forgot it, or never knew it and I never forgot it. So anyone out there that knows the name of that said technique, I'd be very curious to see it. Guys like Chris Somney do that quite a bit. Adam Hughes does it quite a bit. I don't do it often except for in cases like this. Grass, tree trunks, reeds in the water, sticking out of the water, or like, yeah, just tall grass, things like that. Do the same effect. Sometimes even in hair, but hair, it tends to, I don't know, it tends to get weird doing it in hair. Ink in a nest, and it's going to get tighter and tighter as it wraps around. And the more you wrap, you should get tighter. No, I'm not going to wrap. You can go watch Dan Frager's channel for that. I don't do the wrapping. At least not today. You never know. I might actually sometime. Yeah, it took me a while to find the calligraphy brush on Procreate. It was down at the very bottom of the inking brushes. It's not actually in the calligraphy section. And I was probably inking with Procreate for 2 or 3 years before I found it. It's probably 2 years. I had mostly gone in and manipulated pre-existing brushes for digitally inking Trevor Hairsign while I was over at Valiant. And I didn't scroll down far enough in the Procreate brushes to see what they had to offer. I hate doubling back. I hate having to double tap. It's just something I don't like to do. I want to treat this like it's a real thing, which I know if they're real inking traditionally, you can white out and stuff like that. But I don't like to have Control Z or the double tap as a crutch. So I try to work with the mindset that everything is real and final, and keep my confidence level up. So here's a fun kind of thing you can do when you're doing this technique is varying the layers. So I went in and did this line here and broke it there. Then this branch comes behind it and breaks there. This one is in front of this line and breaks it there. Again, we're using that gap to sort of pretend that there's a top line to that stick, but we don't have to add that much detail. I use this effect here because the nest is on fire and glowing. So we're just hitting the shadow sides of these branches and sticks that make up this giant nest. But you know what? I don't have to, well, we're almost done. We're almost done. I was gonna say, I don't have to finish the nest, you guys. If you want to watch me ink the bird or the rocks next, maybe I should work on a figure. I'll work on a figure next. This was a good warm up though, to make sure that the camera is picking up the art. Again, I am new to doing all of this live, so just bear with. I can't thank you guys enough for watching. My live videos get tons more views than any of my other pre-recorded videos. And now that I know how to do it, I'm going to do it way more often. It also keeps me from editing or over editing, spending too much time with that. I'm still going to do edited videos, but now I can spend time doing, like some Abe Balderman videos, some good demos with some music and some good information. And then when I'm working on project stuff like this, I can do it live. Like I said, we're also going to have guests coming in here. Artists and probably some readers and fans and different people too. I'm going to have an action figure maker come in and talk to us. Yeah, I got some fun plans now that I'm figuring out this StreamYard stuff. All right, one more little, these are the flames wrapping around on the other side. And there's our flaming nest, which kind of bland, but it's gonna look really, really cool in color. The nest is on fire. We don't need no water, let that boop, boop burn. Yeah, I bleeped out mother for some reason, because that's a swear word. Look what you got me doing, Eric. Probably another thing. I probably got another strike for singing that. What pixel resolution are you working on these pages? Let's take a look. Canvas. Canvas information. This is 11 by 17 at 300 DPI, which I have found is enough when I'm working digitally. Especially when my pencils and everything are from the ground up working digitally. I can't zoom in, but it's 33 pixels wide. Or sorry, 3,300 pixels wide, 5,100 tall. 11 by 17, 300. You're going to get 7 layers total on at that size in Procreate. All right, let's see. I want to, before we ink the figure, I think I want to ink this angry bird. Well, you know what? Let's check some comments real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. Looks great, man. Thank you. So you leave all the line thicknesses. I can't talk. So you leave all the line thickness decisions for the inking stage. Pretty much. Everything's kind of uniform, whether I'm doing traditional or not. Like here, you'll notice I kind of went a little heavier, just kind of indicate like, that she's uplit. But even then, it's pretty loose and sloppy. I'll probably go in and tighten a little bit of that up before I lay it down with ink. But a lot of the line weight is sort of figured out in the inks. Yeah, that's something I didn't even really think about much. So I like questions, because I'm dumb and you guys are smart. And you ask things and I'm like, I have to use my brain. Your next challenge is to do a live time lapse. Okay, that's pretty funny. Now I'm going to think of a way to fake that. All right, good challenge. All right, so I am going to switch it up here from the calligraphy brush to what I call my awesome brush 1. And I believe this was a studio brush that I manipulated. I'm actually going to go in and change this a little bit. It's really fun to play with your own shapes in Photoshop. I've done that quite a bit. You just bring in your own design. You can create it in Procreate. You can do a square or a zigzag or any kind of shape. Save it in your photos, and then come up here, and when you edit a brush, you can drop your own shape in there and do tests, and then you can see what it looks like over here. So I've done that numerous times. Let's finish up here, and this was one I mostly manipulated how it works. It sort of treats me, let me make sure I'm on the right size, yeah. It treats, I can't talk. It treats me like a real brush as much as I can get it to, but it's a little rounder. I developed it when I was working on Trevor, and I kind of liked rounding out some of his shadow shapes. I haven't yet decided if it's the perfect brush for Hammerella, but I used it on some of the other pages. I don't want to Control Z. I don't want to jump back on these. Yeah, these the animals on the planet that young Hammerella lives on, they all have multiple eyes like this that I think are kind of creepy. And this is a little Procreate trick here. It's kind of fun. Just hold it like that. Boom. Hold it like that. Oh, I went crooked there. And boom. There you go. And I don't want it to be too perfect, so we're gonna go in and kind of rough up some of the edges. And then give him a really angry brow. Yeah, and what I like about this awesome brush I've created is that it works for me if I am pushing the line away like this. I get the sort of line I would get from it's like actually halfway through a brush and between a brush and a nib for me. And I can pull towards me like that. So when I pull towards me, it actually feels more like a brush. And when I push away like this, it actually feels more like a nib. That being said, it's one of the tools that made me want to digitally ink. So we're gonna beef these up. Beef it up. Our light source is coming from the bottom, so these guys are going to be uplit. And I might actually try a different pen for their feathery fur. Let's see. Oh, this seems to be working good. Yeah, all right, let's finish this beak. And if you are just joining us, we started off inking traditionally tonight, working on a commission of a soldier, a doughboy from World War I. Then we moved over to a Shazam piece I'm working on. And now we are working on Hammerella pages. All right, I'm probably going to end up beefing all of these up. Yep, gotta have the beef. If you're gonna ink like a man, you gotta beef it up, baby. And I do enjoy drawing animals. We tend to have a bunch of different animals in the Gods and Gears universe, even if we're just incorporating like birds flying away in a scene, being startled in the bushes, stuff like that. All the way to robot cats that are owned by demigods. We got it all. And we'll be getting back to the chat in a second. Our hero, I don't think there's too many questions. Let's see. Thanks, Ryan. So do the 7 layers max for your device. Is it enough, or would you use more than those? For inking, I'm not going to use more at all. The only reason I have a bunch used right now is I have my layer that was my sketchbook drawings, which I drew all of this out traditionally in my sketchbook, did all the layouts, then brought it in and did a blue line layer, then did a secondary, more detailed blue line layer, and then the inks, and I have my panels on their own layer. So I don't need that many layers. When I'm coloring, I'll use up most of those, but when I go to color this, it'll be one flat image with the inks and the line work, or the the panels on one layer. So yeah, when I'm inking, I definitely don't need this many. Do you merge layers to avoid that? Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I often do merge layers if I have to. I try to figure out what I can merge and what will not, I don't know, work myself into a corner. And Eric Housel, were you ever worried you'd get spoiled by digital inking? No, because it wasn't so much about being spoiled for me that kept me away from it. It was that I didn't like the look of it. I don't think anyone's digital inks looked good until 4 years ago. I don't care who you are. And anyone inking in Illustrator, their stuff just like their render lines would, let's say you got an arm here, and it's a hand, and there's your fings. Yep, that's it. Yep, there's that little wrist bone. Look at those things. Oh, here's your thumb coming back. There we go. That's a good arm. Here's the muscles. So, anyways, inking, if you got a shadow here, the inks should look like this. And this is what they would look like if you were inking traditionally. Something like that. But man, for years, people doing superhero comics, I'm not gonna name names, but they their render lines look like this when working digitally. And I was always like, what's going on? Why are you doing that? Let's get rid of this. And then once I started playing with the I did test out Clip Studio first. It was Manga Studio then. And then the iPad, I was like, okay, they have figured it out. They have met my high standards of approval, for I am the Ink King, and all shall bow to me. Not really, but I did really enjoy the results, and I was like, all right, let's give it a try. And for production work, it helped tremendously. Trevor Harrison was always late on stuff, and even though I wanted to have originals to sell, the deadline was most important, and getting that page rate and not giving up a page was most important. So man, digital inking in Procreate like saved me. I would have had to give up so many pages on the last run of Divinity, or Eternity, I should say. That would have soured me pretty bad on that project. But I got to do everything with Procreate, and I ended up doing some pages traditionally. I'm no purist for digital, even though I used to be a purist for traditional. And I already screwed up. I forgot my heavy side was the underside. Chit-chatting with you guys. I blame you guys. Beefing up all them top sides. All right, I'm gonna get stickers made. Just say beef it up. All right, so now I'm gonna remember really heavy on the top side. Yeah, it's coming along good. I think I'm gonna do a dry brush effect on the beak, on the shading on the beak, so it kind of looks like when the brush is getting low on ink. But if you use Clip Studio, man, their G pen right out of the gate is pretty good. It's very similar to the calligraphy pen here in Procreate. But I know a bunch of the dudes were using that right out of the gate. And when I inked Victor not Olazaba, that's an inker I know. When I inked Victor Bogdanovich, I think he was saying that he was using Clip Studio and Photoshop, and he had that nice imagey bounce, which is kind of, like, got that kind of effect. little bloops, line breaks, things like that. And yeah, this pen does it pretty good for me too. Boop, 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 boop. Hey, Tie Ion's back. Right on, brother. Okay, so we are going to do this eye. This little weird eye here. And now I'm going to try out a different tool. Let's see. I'm going to keep it in inking. There is the dry ink brush that I'm going to try out here first. Let's see. Let's see it by itself. I haven't manipulated this one yet. I usually don't like if there's a lot of streamline. This one feels like there's a lot of streamline. It's correcting the curve. I usually like to turn that down so that my hand's creating the curve line, or the mistake in that sense. But it looks pretty good. I'm going to try it out here. That's a little thick. Because what can we do if it's too thin? We can always beef it up later. Yeah, I like this. I think I'm going to mess around with this bad boy. Yeah, because it'll be about that size. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I'm happy. All right, we're gonna go thicker on the ridge of the beak here. It's gonna be the hardest shadow. And then we'll go in and do these bad boys. A little bit of a render on his brow, and then the beak. And there we go. All right. I'm gonna use it on his feathers here too. Create sort of a gray effect, a tonal effect to, again, hint and help with the lighting coming up from below. And we can do a little bit of jaggedy rendering here, again, shadowing the heavy sides. Oh, I like this dry brush. Very cool. Yeah, I haven't really played around with that much, but I'm going to from now on. There you go. Let's turn off all our pencil layer. Doesn't change it that much, but it is a little bit cleaner. And I don't know. To me, these things are freaky. I find birds and baby birds to be extremely creepy. So that's one of the reasons I incorporated these into the story. Okay, so we did that. I want to let's do a face. We haven't worked on a face. A face is a nice thing to ink. We'll go back to our clean, awesome brush number 1. Doodly-doo-doo-doo, boom. I'm going to take a swig of water. I'm going to do this face and then probably wrap it up for the night. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask now. And I'll look in just a second. We're going to start with the ear. You've seen me do a similar move in one take with my markers. I like to do mimic as much what I do traditionally as possible digitally. And I'm gonna erase some of that and give this bite energy line that's coming off from behind the beak a little more space. So we don't want to get too bloody with the book. It is all ages, but there is going to be a lot of violence. It's just not going to be that gross. But there's definitely going to be blood in this scene. She's going to get hurt quite often, even as a kid. on this planet. So bear with. I'm not trying to be that mean to the young girl, but she's got to get toughened up. I mean, she's going to find herself in the midst of a galactic war. So she's got to be tough, you know? All right, again, keeping in mind that we are uplit. So I'm going to go a little heavier on the shadow sides there of those nostrils. See how it's looking all right. Give a little rendering there just to create a shadow. And even though we are uplit, I'm still debating making the upper lip black just because it looks natural and normal like that. I'm gonna wait to decide that. Gotta think about that. Even there, I just want to go thin on the bottom, and that's the opposite of what we need. We need thick on top. Oh, maybe I'll leave the lips white in this shot for now. All right, there's this little bloopity bloop of the corner of the eye. And I don't like to use the, we have this tool in Procreate that keeps your arc really clean. I don't like to do that for eyes and stuff. You might want to get, you might feel tempted to do that because it cleans it up, but it looks too weird, I think. I think it looks much better if you have it by hand, even if it takes you a couple pen strokes to make it happen, or if you break up the lines a little bit, whatever. But I think on eyes, you want to have an organic touch for sure. So we don't go too long on the lashes. We don't do too much detail on the eyes. Where I do recommend using that Procreate trick is if you're going to use it on the irises. We'll use it there so you can see. All right, a little bit of eyelash because she's still feminine, but she's not old enough yet. Or not old enough. She's not old enough to be wearing makeup and going into battle. But she's, what was I going to say? You don't want them to be too long and luscious yet. That's what I was going to say. There we go. And she's got some healthy eyebrows. I think she gets those from her dad. We don't really see, I don't think we're going to see her mom's eyebrows at all. But we are going to see here both her parents, and I feel like Gods and Gears fans can probably guess who her dad is. It's not really a spoiler, but I wasn't saying it publicly until the story came out. But I mean, come on, she's got a hammer. I don't know. I don't want to say too much. But nobody's seen her mom. Her dad's been in the series so far. Her mom is a brand new character, and a member of a group called the Velvet Thorns. And they are a group of witches that I liken it to if the Sith were Vikings. And they go out and conquer and destroy, and they really enjoy learning new magic and then using that magic to conquer more people. They enjoy battle, and they take their kids into battle too, which is partially what leads Hammerella to be stranded on the planet that she's stranded on. So she's sort of got dreaded hair. It's going to be mostly black. I'm just putting in these lines so I kind of know where to break things up and where her sort of like dreaded locks are. All right, so now let's do those the people in the iris like I was telling you. And you know what? We'll go ahead and do some I'm going to finish this sentence one of these times. We'll do some Procreate magic here. So let's do the circle for the eye, go kind of rough, and then hold your finger down and it'll straighten it all out and make it more of a perfect circle. Then go ahead and do the same thing here to the side. Oh, you know what? We're uplit. Let's do it. We're going to go down here. It's going to be our highlight. You can hold it there and let go. And same thing here, but now we're going to fill this guy in black. And then we're going to do this. And then we're going to do this. Little lines. Black towards that white highlight, and then break it up as you get towards here. And what happens there is the eye, it takes this highlight and reflects it across it there. So even though we're drawing kind of small, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So here's some of our Procreate magic. You can select that, see, copy and paste, take it and move it over here, line her up, boom, there you go. She's horrified at the bite being taken out of her arm. We're going to go ahead and merge that down to the ink layer. We're going to go ahead and rename that INKS, dudes. Not ink dudes, we'll just call it INKS. All right, so now we want to go in and do some of the dreadlocks. Sounds a little more like Dathomir witches than Sith. What are Dathomir witches? Is that a Star Wars thing that I don't know about? Please expand Simonon 7. There we go. Sounds more like Dathomir witches than Sith. Although that word, yeah, that word sounds familiar. So dreads, I kind of like just go back and forth and get heavier and heavier. You go from vegan lines to beefy lines to full black. I don't have to be uniform in any way, but I do sort of keep the curvature uniform so that you can kind of sort of feel the dreads, the tubes that they create, those tube-like shapes. But I'm a fan of the look of dreaded hair. I'm a fan of drawing it, but having it is not that great. My senior year, I was big on surfing and bodyboarding. We go every day to the beach before school, during school, after school, and I let chunks of my hair get dreaded up, and it was cool for a while. It was like, oh, certain girls like it, certain people think it's cool, and this, and after a while, it was just kind of gross. All right, I'm just gonna go heavy on this side, and then as it comes around her bangs here, we're gonna go light to dark there again because of the uplighting. So she's being, as the dreads bend back around towards the front, they're gonna be relit, if that makes sense. And when you're doing stuff like this, you can always go back in and thicken stuff up later. So don't get too wrapped up, especially like if you're doing like grass or something that's got these loose organic lines like this. Don't get too caught up. If you mess up something or you don't like a line, don't get too caught up on looking at that either, because you're like, that'll distract you. Just know that you can go back and fix it later. Dathomir witches from Darth Maul's planet, right? Oh, yeah, okay. I should look into that. I want to make sure I'm not either subliminally copying something or just creating something that's totally like it. But I do know that our power sets in the Gods and Gears universe are different. So, but I definitely I like the sound of them. I like the vibe. I haven't finished up Clone Wars. Oh man, I feel like were they in Clone Wars? I didn't watch the newest season where they got back to it. That was something I was actually really surprised with Star Wars. No offense to you that like the new stuff, it doesn't really do it for me. And then I watched Clone Wars, and I was really annoyed by the Padme episodes at first. And then you just get totally sucked in. It is such a well-written story, and the way it closes out before they came back, that season with Yoda is so good. I was just blown away. I was totally surprised, totally impressed. All right, Disney messed up the canon, so I don't know what's there now. They have appeared on Clone Wars and had some ties to Darth Maul without being really spoilery. Okay. Very cool. Well, I think we're going to call it here, gang. We went 45 minutes longer than I planned. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing yet. We'll see if people like watching stuff this long. But a bunch of you have stuck with me from beginning to end. Can't thank you enough. Thank you for the questions and thank you for the comments. It's always a lot of fun with you guys here, and I'm glad that you guys are all getting to know each other. I know a lot of you already do know each other from various streams, but every once in a while I see some of you guys saying, "Hey, nice to see you again. Nice to meet you. This or that." And I love seeing everyone come together. So let's keep that up. We got a little ways to go on Hammerella. We got 24 days, and we got about 20% to go. But we're going to be doing some big pushes. I'm going to be trying to get on some other shows and get some promotion going, so we can definitely make that happen. And we will be back tomorrow to color this and do more inks as well. I'm going to try to get the inks done for this later tonight and then have it ready to color tomorrow. So we'll see. So thank you guys for sticking with us. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take it easy.